This is second grade Into Math, Module 22, Lesson 2. Identify and describe equal shares. I can identify and name shares of shapes as halves, thirds, and fourths. Please gather your workbook and a pencil and turn to page 546. We will start under Build Understanding. Write halves, thirds, or fourths to name the equal shares. So first let's connect to the vocabulary. We can say that when something is two equal shares, it can also be called two halves. Here we have 1, 2 equal shares or two halves. 3 equal shares can be called thirds, 3 thirds. We have 1, 2, 3 equal shares, or we have 3 thirds. 4 equal shares is the same as 4 fourths. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal shares, so we have 4 fourths. Now we're ready to name the equal shares we see. The first one, part A, asks us to name two equal shares. Here we have 1, 2 equal shares, and we know that 2 equal shares is also called halves. So we can write in the word halves here. Now let's look at part B. Name 3 equal shares. We have 1, 2, 3 equal shares. We know that 3 equal shares, another way to say that is thirds, and we can write that here, thirds. The last part, C, it says name the 4 equal shares. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that 4 equal shares is the same thing as saying fourths. We can write that here. Let's take a look at the next page, page 547. How can you show and name equal shares? Color the shapes to show the number of equal shares in the whole. So we have whole shapes here, and they are cut into different shares. So we're going to use red to color shapes with 2 equal shares. Let's do that now. You may need a red crayon or a red marker. If you want to pause and get that, you can do so. And you can also try this part on your own and come back, or follow along with me. I notice that this circle has 2 equal shares, so I will color it red. I notice another circle has 2 equal shares, so I will color this red. And I see that this rectangle has 2 equal shares, so I will also color it red. Do you see anything else that has 2 equal shares? That's right, there's one more. Looks like this square here has 2 equal shares, so I will color that in. Nice job. The next part asks me to use blue to color shapes with 3 equal shares. Again, if you would like to pause and try this part on your own, you may do so. I found one circle that had 3 equal shares. I also see a rectangle that has 3 equal shares. I will color it blue as well. Okay, next part. It asks us to use green to color shapes with 4 equal parts. If you'd like to pause and try this part on your own, you may do so. I see first that there is a circle with 4 equal shares. Then I see a square that has 4 equal shares and a rectangle that has 4 equal shares. I will color all of these green. Part B asks us to write the words halves, thirds, or fourths to name the equal shares of the shapes. As a review and reminder, I have posted the connective vocabulary to show that 2 shares is also called 2 halves, 3 shares is also called thirds, and 4 equal shares is also called fourths. Okay, let's take a look at the red shapes. all of the red shapes have 2 equal shares. So we can call that halves. Let's write that in here. Good job. Now let's look at the next part. All of our blue shapes have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 equal parts. When they have 3 equal shares or parts, we call that thirds. Let's write that in together. Thirds. Great job. And the last part, our green shapes have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 equal shares, and we know that 4 equal shares is the same thing as saying fourths. So we can write that in as well. Great work. On the next page, page 548, we will write the number of equal shares in the whole. Then write halves, thirds, or fourths to name the equal shares. You may want to pause this video and try parts A, B, and C on your own and come back to check your answers. Or you can follow along with me. Okay, let's take a look at part A. Here we have a rectangle. The rectangle has 1, 2, 3 equal shares. Let's write that in. 3 equal shares. What do we call 3 equal shares? What can we name this? That's right, we can name this thirds. Let's write that in. Okay, let's take a look at part B. Part B has a shape that has 2 equal shares. Let's go ahead and write that in. What do we call 2 equal shares? We call 2 equal shares halves. Okay, let's take a look at part C. Here we have a shape that has 1, 2, 3, 4 equal shares. Let's write that in. What do we call a shape that has 4 equal shares? We call that fourths. Great work. Now we're ready for check understanding. Use the rectangle to answer the questions. The first question asks, how many equal shares? Again, you can pause and try this part on your own and come back to check your answer or follow along with me. I see that there are 1, 2, 3 equal shares, so I will write in 3 here. The next part asks me to circle the word that names the equal shares. I have the words halves, thirds, or fourths. I know that when I have 3 equal shares, another word for that is thirds. Great job today. As always, you can go back and rewatch this video and pause anytime as needed.